Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Coffee and Careers. My name is Erica O'Toole, and you guys already know that because you see me every other week, but I have some really special guests this week. Before I introduce them, I am going to introduce myself for those of you who haven't tuned in before. Like I said, my name is Erica O'Toole. I am a two-time in the fashion merchandising program, which is actually what we are here to talk about today. So I'm really excited for that. I have my coffee with me today, and we always talk about what's in our coffee. So my coffee today is caramel macchiato creamer, and I have it in my new favorite mug. It's my Mama Bear mug that my husband got me, and on the back it has a cute little bear. So I think this is like the cutest mug ever. So before I continue to kind of introduce what we're going to talk about today, I am going to hand it over to Tanya to introduce herself.
Hello, I am Tanya Domina, and I am a faculty member in the Department of Fashion, Interior Design, and Merchandising. And my area is in the fashion area. It's the area I teach. And specifically, I teach all things CAD related. And I also run the internship program. And I also help to maintain our alumni database. So I'm very excited to be here today to talk about what to do with a career in fashion.
Awesome. Thank
And
you, Tanya.
my coffee is much more boring. It's dark roast black.
Hey, that's good too. All right. And then we have Jamie with us. Then I'll let Jamie introduce herself as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jamie Story. I am the Director of Advising Student Services for the College of Education and Human Services. I am a CMU alum as well, but I am not an alum of the Fashion Merchandising and Design program. I'm a Family Studies major. And I have my great alumni mug. It's my favorite mug. And I have a French roast with a peppermint creamer.
Ooh, ready for the holidays.
Yeah. Maybe it's the wrong holiday.
That's okay. It's just early. Okay, so today we are going to talk about the Fashion Merchandising and Design program. Like I said, I am an alum of the program. I had an amazing experience. The program is phenomenal. They have so much hands-on experience. They have study abroad opportunities, but I'm going to let Tanya tell you about the program because she is an awesome faculty member there. And I'm going to start out by asking her the first question, which is pretty easy, but I'm sure she has lots to tell you about it. And that question is, what can I do with a fashion merchandising or fashion design degree?
So, that question is a huge question, actually, because our industry is so diverse. And most of my students, when they join our program, they think of design, of course, traditional fashion design. And for merchandising, they think of buying. And both are really good career choices, but there is so much more in our industry. And so for the merchandising students, visual merchandising is a very common career path. Styling is another career path, and not just working as a professional stylist for either film, television, or personalities, but also for many of the businesses now where you can, of course, close in a box. And so you get that monthly box. There's many companies out there now. So someone needs to understand the customer's profile that is sent to the company and then pick out and select clothing appropriately. Stylists also work photo shoots. So that's also a very common career path for merchandising. In addition to buying, which probably most of you are familiar with, buy product for stores, many of you may not be aware that you can also source items. And what sourcing is buying all the components that would go into making the garment. And so if you source denim, for example, while you may not go to Paris to see, the Paris fashion show, instead you're probably going to like Turkey, which is the largest producer of denim, and you're probably going to Hong Kong for sure, and you're going to Southeast Asia. If you're buying components for swimwear, you're going to Israel, or you will be again once we're post-COVID. But so it's another very interesting buying career that most students don't think of. And actually, if you like traveling, you do a lot more traveling if you are if you source materials than if you actually buy finished product. Another merchandising career path is sales rep. So, or showroom management. So when you think of buying, you think about going somewhere and buying the product, but someone at the other end, the manufacturer, the brand, has a showroom. The bigger they are, the more footprints they have. So you might go to New York, you might visit a brand, you might go to the showroom. Well, a lot of our merchandising students, they manage that showroom. And so they interact with, for example, the Neiman Marcus buyers. So they know the Neiman Marcus buyers are coming, and they pull the garments that they think that those buyers will be most interested in. So it's selling of the product to the retailer, who then turns around and sells it again. So that's another interesting career path. Another career path is we actually have merchandising alums that work in automotive and aerospace. So one of our alums, for example, when you buy your own private jet, of course, you get to pick out the interior. So what color are the seats, what fabrications, carpet, and things like that. So one of the things you learn in our program is how to map, 3D onto 2D. So the person comes, and we have someone both at Lear and Cessna, and the jobs are pretty similar. And essentially they come and they pick out their plane, and talk to our alum about what the interior should look like. And then what the alum does, they map, they texture map all of the materials and fabrics that this person has requested in 3D, so they could, before the plane is manufactured, they can see what it's really going to look like. And my alums tell me that usually people who are famous actually have really bad taste. So oftentimes they'll look up a few extra. And there's actually quite a bit of travel there too, because if you can afford your own plane, you might go once to Cessna or Lear so you could actually see the plane. But after that, you're more likely to fly the alum to you to present the interior option. So that's another example. For the design, obviously there's fashion design, and from infant all the way up to elderly, the older adults. So, and everything in between. Computer-aided design, so designing garments on the computer. Textile print design is very popular right now. Probably another career path is product development. And in product development, you're the person that helps get the product made. So you're part of a team that interfaces with the designers, the merchants, and you ensure that the product gets made. Another career path would be technical design. And what technical designers do is they make sure the garment is manufactured correctly and that it fits the way it's supposed to fit, as well as meets the cost structure of the company. So if the designer says, wow, I really want to have rhinestone buttons, it would be the technical designer that would say, well, if we add them, by the time we add the retail markup, it would be too expensive for our customer. So here are some alternative solutions to that. We have design students that have worked in other industries, like the paint industry. We have an alum that works for Sherwin-Williams. So Sherwin-Williams, it's all about color, and someone has to trend those colors. We've had people who have worked for Pantone, the Pantone Color Group, which of course sets color and trend globally. We have alums that work as trend forecasters. So their job is to go out. It's a really fun job, shop the market, see what's happening everywhere, bring it back, interpret it for their brand. And then they present it to the designers saying, okay, here is what we think is trending. This is how we think it should be interpreted for our brand. Here's the color palette we recommend. And then the designers get behind that trend and carry it forward from there. So there's a whole lot of places involved. There's also the whole textile end in automotive. So we have alums that do trend forecasting for like Mazda North America. So she determines all the color and trim for every model and make of Mazda for all of North America. And automotive actually trends 10 years out. So our alum is actually trending for 2031.
Wow. Very cool.
Way out. So you can't be wrong. Way out. Way out. We have alums that actually work for they become leather experts, and they trend and buy leather for various companies for various products. And so, you know, while they may not go to a fashion show, they might go to the Paris Auto Show, for example. So it's very, very, and I could keep going on and on and on, you know, and another styling is actually for all like HSN, and, you know, there's all that whole other piece of styling as well. So, and then of course we have retail management and that path, which is a lucrative career path in terms of, we have an alum who will just soon be starting with Nike with the global innovation team. So we're excited about that. So it's really very broad.
Yeah. And Tanya, I'm so glad that you talked about the versatility of this degree, because I feel like, you know, students hear fashion merchandising degree and they get excited and they hear about, you know, how reputable the degree is and everything, but they don't realize how many things they can do with it. And that just shows, I mean, I'm an alum of the program, and I learned about so many things, even designing planes. That to me was amazing, right? Like that's something that I think so many students, just to hear all these different things that they can do with this degree is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm glad you touched on so many of these different areas. And I just wanted to let students know, and anyone tuning in, please ask us questions throughout. I can see that we have some live viewers. So I just want people to know that please ask questions as we're going. Feel free to interrupt with questions in the chat, and I'll make sure we get them to Tanya as well. And I think, Jamie, you have a question next for Tanya.
Yes. So I agree, Erica. That was fascinating. I just kept thinking, like, I didn't know half of these things. And I really want to talk more with the faculty within the department now and visit, because those career options are so versatile, and the degrees are available both online and then in Mount Pleasant at our main campus. And so, wow, like just the reach that you have in the department is just so fantastic. So my question for you, because you talked a lot about trends, is what careers right now are trending in the fashion industry? And then I guess this isn't necessarily, I didn't write this down, but I thought of it as you were talking about some of those things of in the current climate with, you know, COVID-19, like how is that impacting fashion? And then what are there, you know, like I know that you see masks now are this brand new thing that we're wearing, that, you know, this piece of clothing, and how have things changed over the last year, in your opinion, your, you know, expert opinion? I would just love to hear more about that.
So I'll start with the trending, and then we'll move on from there. So what careers are trending? Anything e-commerce, anything virtual is trending right now. And so it was just a couple of years ago that for the first time, we don't just have visual merchandisers anymore. We have e-visual merchandisers because the companies now are realizing that their websites, whether and their mobile shopping sites are just as important, if not more important, obviously, than their brick and mortar. And so what they're doing is they're actually hiring a whole different team. So they might have one visual team for the brick and mortar, but then they have another completely separate team that handles everything virtual. That includes the branding, the styling, what does the homepage look like? Oftentimes they're responsible for the video production. If you click and there's some kind of brand video, usually the visual team is responsible for all of that. Almost every company now has two teams of buyers, and people don't realize that. They actually have a buying team for their brick and mortar, and they actually then have a completely separate team that buys for their online shopping sites or their mobile shopping sites. It's kind of, you'd think you could just do the one, but that's typically not the case. So anything that is virtual or trend, like that is very popular right now. The other one is product development. There was a recent survey of most of the national apparel brands, and when they were asked what is the most important skill they're going to be hiring for in the next few years, by far they were looking for product development. So I talked about what that means. And actually, to be on a product development team, you could be merchandising or design. We have our merchandising students that go into product development, just like our design. And it's an interesting job because no day is the same. And it's a corporate job for sure as well. So you would also then ask about the masks, and everybody's making a mask. So every brand, yes, everybody's making the mask. It's hard to even believe that there are that many people left that need to buy masks,
right?
But every single brand is making a mask for sure to sell. So yes, the masks are certainly trending right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I never imagined that being a thing for us, but it is incredible. It's like every single store you go to now, the first thing you see when you walk in is a rack of masks. So
Right.
I imagine that's going to be something pretty big. I mean, it already is, but even more so.
And as part of the whole mask and the virtual thing, companies now have to put on virtual. Well, New York Fashion Week virtual, Paris Fashion Week virtual, Milan Fashion Week virtual. So companies need to figure out how to host their events virtually. And so we have a lot of alums who are also do event work, and they've had to figure out, especially in bridal. So how instead of hosting these big events where you would come and see a bunch of different, to New York and see all these different new designs and how to have a reception. The whole thing has to happen obviously virtually now, and it's been a big challenge for many companies. So again, they're looking for people with background who have strong social media skills. Strong technology skills are absolutely critical. You have to be able to adapt and learn new technology very, very quickly. You have to have excellent Illustrator, Photoshop skills. So
definitely. Yeah, and I think that kind of leads into my next question. You kind of already talked about it, but how can I best prepare myself for a career in the fashion industry?
So I did talk about some of those skills, and like I said, technology is critical, especially in our field. I think in our field, there's still this perception of doing everything by hand. It's red. No, it doesn't work that way anymore. And so without a strong technology foundation, without the ability to quickly learn new technology, so that's absolutely critical. computer skills I mentioned. The other thing that I think is one of the most important things you can do is to complete an internship, because it's the internship that often sets you apart from your competition, because most schools don't require, an internship. And so I think those three things, the ability to adapt to technology, um, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop skills, and an internship are probably the three single most important things that you can do.
That's actually a perfect segue into my next question, which is what types of fashion internships are available?
So I run the internship program, and normally I have anywhere from 60 to 70 interns every summer. And so those interns are placed or find internships with around Michigan, nationally and internationally as well. So the kind of internship really depends on your career goals and your interests. So I have had all the way from like Nike at one end, to trying to think of more, Abercrombie and Finch, to companies in New York City, to Kohl's, Target. I have had interns at PETA, because PETA actually has a division where they look at fabrics that are non-animal based.
That's
And so what do you do with these? How do you encourage designers to use these instead of, animal skins or leathers and things like that? I've had design, across the country. I've had interns in like London and Paris, Milan, Hong Kong, New Zealand, Australia, so Spain. So the students are able to find these, in part because there's a class first that helps to prepare them, get all their materials in order. I provide guidance and support, but we also then maintain an alumni database that has over 500 alums in it. And so that database is also an excellent resource for students. So it really depends on the career path. I've had people at Swatch, watches, really, it's really diverse. Everything across the industry, we have had interns.
That's so amazing. And I would imagine that that alumni database is just like a amazing resource that to network with individuals that are in the field, that are potentially in a field that you want to go into, like as a current student, to be able to have access to that and the faculty expertise is just that's like blowing my mind right now. Some of the things that you were talking about, the opportunities, really are. I mean, it just kind of. I know this is cliche, but it like sounds like opportunities are so endless with the program, and then the careers are so versatile, and so that's amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
and this past summer, a lot of students ended up with virtual internships, especially at the corporate level, because they would have been most likely out of state. But the companies really stepped up to the challenge. It was really, really impressive what they came up with for those. And my interns were really part of their team. So I had, for example, an intern with Kohl's on the design team. And so like all day long, she was involved in those Zoom or WebEx meetings and things like that. I had an alum who got an internship at Nike Corporate. That was virtual. I had another intern who actually got on the visual merchandising internship with Lowe's.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so even all those big box stores, right? They need to figure out where all this stuff's going. And so, just as an example, I had someone who had worked for this huge bridal company, bridal event company out of New York, and that had to go virtual too. As just as an example.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it was actually really impressive how many of the corporate, no one actually canceled their internships. They delayed them while they tried to get figured out. And then the interns that instead were more interested in a localized internship, all of them were eventually able to go to their internship and complete it. So I think this past summer in the end, I still had almost 40, 50 interns, which I think worked out.
Wow.
Yeah, it went really well. So
Yeah. I
I
think
suspect that things will go well this coming summer.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes to the dedication of your department and to those intern hosts that we were able to make that happen for our students, regardless of all the things that were going on this year. I mean, everybody knows we're in the middle of a pandemic, and so it's not not a surprise. But I'm like, that is, I think, just amazing and so impressive that you were able to support students during that time. So.
And we just have such a good relationship too. I mean, and I want to just speak on internships really quick too, because being an alum and being in the Career Development Center, we get a lot of feedback as well from some of the companies we work with. And for instance, we had a intern that worked with our First Impressions program, and she also interned for Kohl's, and she was part of the fashion merchandising and design program. And she ended up messaging me because after she graduated, one of her designs from when she was an intern ended up making it into the Kohl's stores, and I went out and bought it because I was so proud of her. So just the amazing things that our interns do. It's not like they just, go in every day and, we hear all these stories of interns just going to make coffee. Our interns do amazing things. I mean, they really do. These internships, Tanya has like amazing things that they do. I remember as an intern myself, I did a local internship because I remember I had an apartment lease, and I was like, Tanya, what do I do? She was my internship instructor. And I ended up working as visual merchandising for a local furniture company. And because Tanya was like, just think outside the box. It doesn't necessarily have to be what exactly you're thinking. Think outside the box. And so I worked for a local furniture company. I ended up working for them throughout all of college afterwards. And I had an amazing experience. I loved working visual for them. And so, I mean, that's what I love, is that they really do. They encourage you to think outside the box. And they just have so many different careers that you don't think about. And that's why I'm so glad we did this today, because I think that's a lot of what really came out of this, is at least students and our viewers watching can get so many great ideas of what they can do with this degree.
Yes, it is for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think the skills are transferable to a lot of other careers as well, because, sometimes your career path does this.
Yep.
But I hear from the alums all the time, what I learned in this fashion class is helping me now, and I'm in graphic design, or I'm doing this, but it translates. The skill that I learned,
Mm-hmm.
it was useful here, and so
Yeah, I mean, my career did one of those, but I'm working in the Career Development Center, and I run our First Impressions program, and I work with the fashion merchandising and design students every day, because a lot of them work in that program, and we have to do visual merchandising in our store. We have to do inventory, and so I use my skills every day that I took from that program, and I gained a lot of transferable skills.
Can you, for anyone who's watching who maybe isn't familiar with our First Impressions, could you just give a quick overview? Because I remember that when I was at CMU the first time. I think it's more new. And it's amazing. So I would love to hear a little bit more for anyone who doesn't know what it is.
So our First Impressions program gives free professional clothing to our students. Right now we have actually taken it virtually, so I'm really excited that we were able to do that. But in the past, in person, we service typically close to around 800 students a year. Students are able to come once a semester, so they could come, multiple times throughout their college career, and they sign up through Handshake for an appointment. They come in, and our store associates will help them pick out a full professional outfit, including shoes, belts, whatever they need. And right now they meet with them virtually, and then they pick up a style bag. So it's like, your subscription boxes kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we're trying that out. It's worked really well. We're having a lot of students utilize it. But it's a great program. We receive donations, we receive new clothing from designers and from local stores. So it's been a really successful program, and we've gotten great feedback from the students. So I'm really excited that we've been able to keep that program going for so long. So yeah.
That's awesome. So you really are using your degree.
I love it. Yeah, it's been a really, really fun program to do, and being able to work, because so many of the fashion merchandising and design students just kind of naturally gravitate towards volunteering and becoming interns for the program, that I get to work with them too. So that's been really fun for me.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap it up, I mean, that literally, I felt like it was not half an hour at all.
No.
I feel like we probably could have talked for an hour, but
Easy.
yeah. But
And I want to point out to our viewers that in the background, what you're seeing, that is our visual merchandising lab, and it is only a few years old. It's state of the art. There is not another university in the country that has anything similar. So not only does it have the windows, but there's also inside the lab, you're able to merchandise. There's racks and walls. You can do styling exercises. We also do in that lab our 3D printing and fashion class. Yeah.
Yeah, which is new since even I was a student, because as a grad student, I taught the visual merchandising class, and the window was much different then. So
yes, it was.
Yes. So in the 3D printing lab, that's phenomenal. So so many great resources for all of you watching, and for all of you that watch afterwards. Please check out the Fashion Merchandising and Design program. It's an awesome program at CMU. Thank you so much, Tanya and Jamie, for joining me today. This is going to be part of a series where we feature different programs at CMU. I hope you join us. And then, as always, if you have any questions or need help with anything related to careers or taking courses to explore those careers, Jamie and myself are always here to help, and Tanya's here to help with the Fashion Merchandising and Design program.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, have a wonderful Thursday. Thank you for joining us for coffee, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Bye.
This is great.